Okay, in this lesson, the goal is to create some nice graphs. There's two graphs that we're looking at here. We had some data, the average temperatures between two American cities, Miami, Florida, Austin, Texas, and I wanted to originally just compare and create a chart that shows Miami in February and March and Austin in February, March. So I've got two cities, and you can see the difference between February and March is only about a degree difference for the average temperature for Miami. So not a lot of change. Austin, Texas is changing a fair bit more. Here's another chart I did. I'll bring that to the front, and you can see what I wanted to do in here was compare the month of February and March between the two cities. And so you can see Miami is a lot warmer in February than Austin, Texas, but by March, Austin is starting to catch up. You can see the difference is much less. I also did some headings and stuff. So how do we do this? Well, let's start over again with some data, and we'll go through how we graph data, make a lovely chart. So first, I want to select the data I want to graph. In this case, it's going to be Miami and Austin, and the 2 months, February, March. I just held my mouse down to select the data for those months. The next thing I do is I go Insert, and I want to do a column chart. And so I select a column chart, and I'm just going to select a side-by-side column chart. You see in the icon that there is 2 bars for each one. So that's what I want, side by side. And there we go. Now, at first, this doesn't look so good. For example, the labels aren't very good. The legend's not very good. So I'm going to fix up some of the information on here. So one of the first things I want to do is I've got what is Series 1 and what is Series 2. They're not labeled. And so I want to fix that. And so to fix that, what I can do is if I right-click, I can select data. And so I'll go select data. And this is a little cryptic, but I'll go through a little bit on what this is. So the horizontal category. So that's a category at the bottom. It says 1 and it says 2. And really what it should say is it should say Miami and Austin. So I'm going to press the button here that says Edit, and I want to edit the horizontal. So horizontal means across, so that's across the bottom. And you can even see on my graph, which is sort of hiding underneath here, you see peeking out the 1 and 2. And so I know that should be Miami and Austin. So when I click Edit, it comes up with this another dialog box and say, well, what is the label? Not what are the values, but what is the labels? Because I don't want a label of 1 and 2. It just came up with that. So my labels, I can just highlight Miami and Austin, and so it's going to say on the sheet, cell B3 to cell C3. Notice the dollar signs in front of it. It means it's locked. We all know about that because if I ever move my data around, I want to keep it there. And it says, oh, that's going to equal Miami and Austin. Yeah, that's okay. So I'm going to press OK, and you can see my chart, even before I press OK, on the chart below this selection box, I can see Miami appears and Austin appears. Oh, good. That's what I wanted. Great. I can also do the same thing with my data source, the series labels. I want to change the legend. So I'm going to select the legend for Series 1. And the legend for Series 1 is the values for February in Miami and February in Austin. So I'm going to click Edit, and I'm going to say, this is February. So the name is going to be cell A5, February. Great. Series 2, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to press Edit, and I'm going to say, well, that's March. And you can see the values are 21.8, which is Miami in March, and 15.5, which is Miami in March. So the values are good. It's just the name I wanted not to say series, but rather to say that cell. And so you can see it comes back like this. I can press OK, and it now looks a lot better. It says Miami and Austin, and February, March. I know what's going on here. Okay, I want to fix this up a little more by adding a title to the top. So I'm going to go to the layout, and I'm going to say I want to put a chart title. Right now, the default is none, but I want to put above the chart, I want to put the title. So how I could put the title is I could go in here and I can highlight the title, and I could type in something like average temperature or whatever. Average. So I don't want to do that. What I want to do is automatically have the title generated. So what I can do instead is I can say this is going to equal, and I need to be in the function box here, and I say this is going to equal the cell A1. And when I press enter, cell A1 is what's going to appear there. Both ways you could do it. And you can see here, if I was to type in something else and press enter, that's the title. I don't want that, of course. I want cell average temperature, what it had, is what I want to have on here. Okay, now the other thing that we'll want to do here is put some more labels. So I want to put a label at the bottom where it says the city. So again, selecting my chart, I'm going to go to the layout, and I want to say the axis title, and the primary horizontal, remember I said that's the one at the bottom, it goes across. I want to put a title below, and so I click on title below, and in this case I don't have a label here that I could select the cell, otherwise I would. I'm just going to write in here city. Let's do another axis label, and this time I'm going to do a vertical one. And for the vertical one, I'm going to rotate it because I've got quite a bit of text to put in here. So I'm going to put a rotated title, and I'm going to click on here. And it's kind of funny to click and edit this because it's rotated. But I'm going to say temperature in Celsius. Great. Oops, I don't need to put an enter. And there you go. So I've now labeled that one. I actually wouldn't mind making this a little larger. So I'm going to increase the font, and just like we do with anything else, I can increase the font. So my chart's looking a lot better, more like how I wanted it to look. The last thing I want to do is the legend here. I want to put a border around it. So I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to format the legend, and I want to format it by saying I want to put a border on it, and I want a solid line, and I'm going to choose a solid line, and I want a color of black, and press OK, and there you go. So now I've got a black border. I think that looks a fair bit better. So those are some of the things that we can do to modify a chart. We can add titles, we can change the data, we can automatically get the data to display differently, and we can make a much prettier looking chart. Okay, the last thing I wanted to do was I'm going to copy this, and I wanted to show you another example of this. So I'm going to copy this chart, and I'll just paste it over here, another chart. I actually wanted to, oops. Sorry, I want to copy the chart, and I want to paste another chart. There. So, not paste the data values double. Okay, so in this one here, what I want to do is I actually wanted to compare, I don't want this to be the city, I want this to be the months instead. So I want to compare Miami and Austin in the months of February and compare Miami and Austin in the month of March. So how do we do that? The data is, even though I've selected the data is not quite what I want. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say select data, and this time I'm going to push this button here that says switch row and column, because I want to compare Miami and Austin in February and Miami and Austin in March. So not Miami in looking at the month, but I want to compare the two cities. So if I go switch and I press OK, you'll now see that it switches Miami and Austin and says, okay, in February, this is Miami and Austin, and March, this is Miami and Austin. And this is another type of chart and another way of looking at the information. Is the information any different? No, definitely not. It's the exact same information. It's just another way to present that information.